In this video, we will continue our React-based dog breed application. The application that has select with all the breeds. You can select any breed and you will get the image of the dog with this breed. So this application fetches data from API, fetches all these images, pictures for breeds. And in this video, we will be making components. So what are the components here? We see menu component, this select component, and this breed image component. 3 components. And also we have in React this app.js component, which is one key component that contains all the other components inside. So technically there are 4 components, but we already made app.js, we set it up, and inside we will put all our 3 components: menu, select, and image breed. So let's go ahead and create in source folder, the folder which we name components. And inside this folder, so make sure it is selected every time, we create folders for the components: menu, then select, and for image, let's name it breed image. With 3 folders, and inside the folders, let's put files: breed image .js with capital B. Then in the same folder, let's right now create the file breed image CSS. We will use it for future. And in the same way in menu.js with capital M, and menu.css, and in select, guess what? Select.js with capital S, and select.css. And let's go ahead and start with our select component. Select component will be stateless component. So first of all, a small introduction. In this video, I would like to explain things in a very understandable, I would say, way. So I'm sorry if it will seem to you like for kids, but I will do everything I can to explain it in the way that you will understand the React. I'm trying to explain it for those who are starting with React. And I remember that it's very difficult and frustrating to be able to create applications and create websites following somebody's code or copy-pasting somebody's code without understanding. Yeah, it works. It completely works. But I would like to know how it works, and I would like to understand why this is working like this, why I need to type this, not that, and such things. So I would like to use the same principles like my husband was doing when teaching me, because they work. These principles work. Let's start with creating first component, select. So this component will be stateless. In React, there are two types of components, stateful and stateless. Stateful contain state inside. Stateless don't have state. This is easy. What is state? We will talk about it later. Now, every component that you will create, you will have three parts in your code here in your file. So the first part always will be import. You are importing different things in order to work with them. Like the very first line, import React from React. And then import something else, import styles, imports some other variables or components from other files. Second part, second chunk of your file will be where you actually declare the component and put all the stuff inside. Third part of the component of your file with the component is just one line of code, export default and the name of the component. Because by attaching this line of code, you make it possible for other files in future to import this component and to use it. So let's go ahead and import React from React. And also we will import styles immediately because I know that we will need them in future. So the styles are in the same folder, that's why I just type / and it selects CSS. And also we will need the styles from grid image. So I import also in another folder, in grid image folder, the file for grid image styles .css. That's the first part of our file. Then the second part where we declare our component. So it's stateless component. We type const and we give name select, and then we write arrow function. This is how we write arrow function. That's why also stateless components are called functional, because they are arrow functions. This is arrow function, and inside this function will returns all the elements that we put here, all the elements in JSX. So here we will put just select container, like the container for this part here. So I put div with the class name select container. And nothing else for now. In future I will put something else. And then third part of our file is where we export default select in order to make it possible for other files to import this and save it. And that's how we create it. I'm writing here commit message immediately. Create select component. And push to your Git. And then let's go to I'm in menu right now. Then let's go to create breed image component, and breed image component will be stateful component because it will contain state inside. So what is state of the component? You need to know that state is an object that you put inside of your component, and depending on state you will get different information from your component will render in different way, will return different information. Your component will behave in a different way. So I'm using all these similar phrases to make it understandable for you. Let's imagine that state, let's apply state to human and you will understand it better. First of all, import, as usually. The first part of component of your file is where you import React from React and component also. Component should be in React and component from React. Then import styles. We will use styles, so import the file with styles. It's in the same folder with image CSS. And nothing else for now. Then second part of our file where we declare our component. So it's stateful component. We put class and the name of the component, breed image. Extends component. So we declare the component and tell that it extends component, which means it inherits all the features from the component, this one from React. So React is a library that we installed on our machine, and you can see in package.json that we have it here, React library with this version. And now we are importing component with all the features written for it from this library. And now here we are creating component, our own, with our own name, and take or inherit all the properties, the features from this component. You can type command and click on it to see the code responsible for this component. So you didn't write this code, me neither. It was created automatically when you installed library, and now you are creating your own component and taking all these features from that component for your component. And in stateful component we use a render method, which is required. So this render method is a required method, then which when is called returns some JSX code, some elements that you pass here. So for our breed image component, we will return the container div with the class name container, image container. So it's this container, you see this border. It's this container, and inside this div we will have image. So we pass image self-closing tag here inside, and this image will have class name, image card, let's say, and we should also write this attribute alternative for the case when, for example, the user cannot see the image because of poor connection, or because it just cannot see, so he uses screen reading, and then these words will be read, the word that you type here. So I type dog. And third part of our file is where we export default, and the name of the component breed image, in order to make it possible for other files to import this component. Save it, and don't forget to commit, push your commit on GitHub, so we create breed image component and push it. And let's see what we have here. We don't see anything. We created two components. This select one and breed image, but we don't see any changes in our application. Why? Because we didn't tell React to display these components. So when we create it, it's the same as we buy something and put inside our refrigerator, but we cannot see it on our dish, on our table. React keeps it in his refrigerator and doesn't know that we want to have them for dinner. That's why we go to app.js and tell that we want to see it on our application. So app.js is the component and the file that contain everything that will be displayed. In the first part of our file, where we import everything, let's import breed image from components, breed image folder, breed image file, and also import select component from components folder, select file, select folder, select file, select.js file. And then we just use it here. Select. Let's make it a self-closing tag. And here, breed image. Self-closing tag. Save it. So we imported it and now we have it here. But we need styles in order to see it in the same way as we have in our application. I just commit it as import select and read image components and push it, and then I apply styles, but in order to make it faster I will just copy and paste them. And save, and now you can see they are applied. Let's even inspect it to see it better. So we have our image here, image container, and we have our select container here, although it's empty, but we have it here. That's how we created and imported two components and applied styles. Then we're gonna do the menu component and styles for it, and it should be a responsive menu. So mobile first should be responsive, like here. For mobile will be hamburger menu, and for desktop will be here on the left.